Thank you. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good noon, good day, good night, good dawn, good dusk, good post-meridian, good post-prandial, good nap time, good desk. Welcome to The Long Shot. It is a podcast.
Did we get two desks?
Did I say desk twice?
We may, or maybe I just heard it. No. I added it in because I wanted to.
I'm guessing it was my fault and that I have somehow, God, if only Joe was here to torture me about saying desk twice, it would become a whole new thing. Welcome to The Long Shot. It is a podcast. I am one of your hosts. My name is Sean Conroy. Also here on the podcast, the other host, Amber Kenny, is here.
Hello. We look so patriotic.
red and blue, and we're both white, so it works out.
There you go.
Yeah. So I know I have to ask you. You're not a sports fan. Like, why am I even asking that after
I'm not a sports
all
fan.
This time? Yeah. Because I'm going through a very exciting period in my life right now, which is the Knicks, my favorite basketball team. Is in the Knicks are in the Knicks. My favorite basketball team, the Knicks, is or are in the playoffs right now.
Will be going to.
Yeah. And that's very exciting. This was a huge part of my life when I was younger because they had a really good team right at the time that I became interested in professional basketball. I was not a basketball person growing up. I was not a basketball fan. I was not a basketball player. And then when I started teaching junior high school, I started playing on a regular basis, and I realized how much I enjoyed the game. And also, just coincidentally, the New York Knicks were ascendant at that time and had a team that was super fun to watch.
It's fun to be a fan of a team that's doing well.
Yeah. And so over the course of the early 90s, they went through some ups and downs and eventually went to the NBA Finals where they lost. But I was psychotic about it. Like, I was religious about watching. I mean, I was teaching junior high school, going to graduate school, running an after-school program, doing comedy at night and on the weekends, and watching every Knicks game on, because at that time, the Madison Square Garden Network, which still exists and still shows the games, would rebroadcast the games from 1 to 3 o'clock in the morning. Now they rebroadcast games, and it's only an hour-long broadcast. But back then, it would be 2 hours. So I would finish everything I was doing and come home and be home at 1 o'clock in the morning and watch the game until 3 o'clock in the morning, and then get up at 6:30 to go teach junior high school. Yeah,
that's insane. I guess because the first thing I thought of is, like, did you have to spend the day trying to avoid results from the game? But I guess without iPhones, that's not really
it wasn't a problem back then. Yeah.
Unless like turning on the radio, or I don't know.
No, I don't ever remember it being an issue that unless you turned on Sports Center, you would have no idea what happened during the game that night. If you were, like me, out doing live comedy at night. Like, in fact, I remember very specifically the Knicks in the NBA Finals against the Houston Rockets, and I only know the date because they made a documentary about it, June 17th, 1994. So I was a year into working with Chicago City Limits, which is where I met Eddie Pepitone. We'll talk more about Eddie in a few minutes. Everybody remembers Eddie from when he used to be on this. He used to be part of this
program.
And so I was a year into that, and I was understudying the resident company, which meant that I had to work Friday nights. I would do 2 shows, 8 o'clock and a 10:30 show, get home at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I had set my VCR to record the Knicks game. So I was going to get home, pop the tape into the VCR, and watch the entire Knicks game. And it was so exciting. And this was June 17th, 1994, which was when OJ and his Bronco were driving down the 101, the 5, the...
He was all over the place.
Yeah. And so what they did was they showed that live, and then the Knicks game
Just
was in
in
a
a
little
tiny,
corner
yeah.
on the top of the screen. And I was so mad. I was so angry. I mean, there was a lot of people who were upset with OJ for a variety of reasons at that point. But I was mostly mad at him for fucking up my opportunity to watch the Knicks game. But anyway, the Knicks are back in the playoffs, and ironically, this round they're playing against the Miami Heat, which is a team that is
The
based
long shot.
in Miami. Miami Heat is based in Miami. They're called the Heat because it is apparently very warm in Miami. Although I ran the Miami half marathon and we waited outside in the rain. It was about 40 degrees in the rain while we were waiting before the race
Oh my
started. So
God.
it was the Miami. They should call him. They should call him the Miami Cold. But
Zing! You got them.
take that, Miami. How do you like me now?
They'll never recover.
Oh man, dear Mr. Conroy, sincerely, Mayor of Miami.
My feelings hurt.
Yeah. But anyway, Duncan Robinson, who stole the name of our podcast to start his own podcast because he is a 3-point shooting specialist, is on the Miami Heat. So I have like an extra incentive to root for the Knicks because I'm both excited for the Knicks, who always had a big rivalry with the Heat back in the day. There's famous footage of the Knicks and the Heat getting into a big fist fight on the court. And Jeff Van Gundy, who was the coach of the Knicks at the time, who's a little dude, like about 5'1", soaking wet. I guess you say soaking wet when somebody weighs very little. Yeah. But anyway, he's 5'1".
But I'm sure he's 5'1", whether he's soaking wet or
just
not.
Just a little guy. And he ended up grabbing Alonzo Mourning, who is a giant, around his ankle and holding on to his foot. And Alonzo was it was like Alonzo was walking with an ankle weight on, basically. So anyway, there's always been a rivalry between them. And now Duncan Robinson is playing, and I'm like, fuck that guy, fuck his podcast, So I'm caught up in all of that. And it's well, it wasn't fun when the Knicks lost the first game of the playoff series to the Heat. So or the Cold. I call them the Cold, because it is cold.
Did you, by any chance, have a cup of coffee before this?
No, but I went for a walk. Maybe that's the problem. I went for a long walk.
So I was like, I could go. Like, it doesn't seem like you need me.
Anyway, we always like to start the show with a segment that.
No, but I wanted to comment on some of those things.
No, moving on. No. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, I find fandom to be sort of time consuming and exhausting. I know the most fervent fan of anything I am is Drag Race, and the season just ended a couple weeks ago, and I found myself, as much as I'm a huge fan, relieved. Like, it was like something that I don't have to carve out time in the week to watch and to avoid spoilers ahead of time. And so maybe it means I don't like it anymore. I don't know. But I was thinking about how sports, it's even more of a time commitment.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, because of, like you're saying, you have to know the score, and you could easily get it spoiled when somebody, I mean, that was a thing for years at ASCAT when we would do shows on Sunday night, and there'd be football games on Sunday afternoon, and people would have recorded the games to watch after the show, and then somebody would come in and go, I can't believe the 49ers lost to the Broncos. And everybody would go, oh, God damn it. Because people were excited to go home and watch the game, which is kind of insane. But at the same time, I mean, my feeling about it is I love when people are like, oh, how do you like your sports games? Like, totally mocking people for caring about it. And it's like, if something makes you happy, why would you not embrace that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my thing about that. Ooh, I am exhausted. Right.
You went up and went down.
I got to stop laughing on this show because I think Aaron purposely finds moments where I look, where I just look insane, and then makes
one.
that all right.
It catches the eye. It's good for those clicks and smashing those like buttons.
Yeah, people, they're scrolling through YouTube and they're like, "Ooh, that looks good. Give me a slice of that." Hubba hubba. All right. Well, we always start with a segment that we like to call checking in. So why don't we start today with Amber?
Well, we had an experience together. So
I guess our checking in will be a co-checking in.
Yes. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But I went to your show Mixtape at the Lyric Hyperion on Saturday, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. It was really fun because I'll talk about it from my experience.
Yeah,
Can't wait to hear about it from your experience.
Totally different experience. We were facing in almost not opposite directions. I was looking straight ahead.
Yeah,
well, you were looking sideways.
It depends on the scene. Yeah,
true.
But Jeff and I went, and that was really fun. He was like, I don't think I've seen an improv show in like 10 years. And so it's just nice to leave the house and go do something together. And you had a great crowd.
I was very excited.
We'll get that. And I will say, and I know
you didn't care for my performance.
I didn't care. Yes, I've got some notes.
I will say you did not live up to your own hype.
1 hour, 20 minutes distance.
Oh boy.
What's going on?
That is the app that I use sometimes to track my walks, basically.
But it sounded like it was coming surround sound. Was it coming from your Sonos?
It's from my phone. And I always forget it sounded so... Well, it's a good microphone, so it picks up everything. But I always forget that it's on, and then I'm done after like 50 minutes, and now it's like time 1 hour and 20 minutes. And the other problem with it is like
now your pace is horrible.
Well, that's part of it, is that it's just been sitting there for 40 minutes, so my pace is like 11.5 minutes a mile or whatever. But also a lot, for whatever reason, a lot of times I'll be on the phone while I'm out walking through the neighborhood, and that thing comes on and it gives you so much, and so much information. Like it doesn't stop. It's like time 1 hour 40 minutes, distance 3 miles 1,100 feet 4 inches 6 kilometers, speed pace. I'm like, Jesus, and the person on the other end of the phone can't hear it.
So they're just talking away.
They're just talking away, and they're like, why are you not responding to what I'm saying? And I'm like,
someone is screaming at me. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
What I was going to say is I have performed at that theater as well, and it was something that we encountered is the stage itself, or stage in quotes, I guess.
Yes.
It's precarious because I remember it wasn't exactly the best setup for us as Liquid Feet, but I was like, but maybe it'll work great for you guys. And it didn't seem to be the case. But I don't think it helped the fact. No. I mean, just like, it was like you guys either decided to be on stage and you would have to be like touching each other. Like it just didn't give you much.
Right.
Or somebody was off the stage, but then they were just fully like back to the audience.
Yeah.
Acting with the person who is on the stage.
Right.
But I don't think it helped. You mentioned this, I'm telling this out of order, that we were going to talk about Eddie Pepitone. Eddie Pepitone was your special guest monologist.
Right.
Very, very funny. I got to see him before the show, and I hadn't seen him in years and years and years, so that was really nice. And he told me, which made me laugh as the show went on, it was like a Chekhov's gun situation. And he's like, the only thing Sean told me was, I got to tell the truth. And I was like, he's going to have a tough time with that.
Well, yes.
and he did. Every story he told, I was like, that didn't happen.
Well, but he said it as if it was the truth. Like,
right.
Just to give people an example, because the thing with the Ass Cat is, it really is just tell a true story and we'll base our...
It doesn't have to be funny.
It doesn't even have to be funny.
Yeah.
And Eddie can't do that. He just could. Some of it was him going into his stand-up. He was doing bits that he's done a million times before.
He told a story about being at Starbucks with Ben Kingsley.
That was insane. And here
he
was
also said it was the year that Gandhi came out. I was like, Starbucks was not a thing.
Not only that, no. Okay, let me just go all the way with this, because I texted him after the show because I had to look it up. But what he said it was right after Sexy. It was right after Kingsley did Gandhi and Sexy Beast, and in my head I'm like, those are at least 15 years apart. What are you talking about? Right. So it was just nonsense. And the problem with, whatever, he was great, he was hilarious, and it was really fun to have him there. The problem is it's very hard to base improvisation on stuff that's already completely absurd and fabricated, So when he said that, I was like, oh boy. And then, of course, after he told this whole story about how he tortured by Ben Kingsley by pretending not to know who he was, totally fabricated. Right. He just went, yeah, I made that up. I'm lying. And it was like, okay, now what do we do? Yeah. So anyway, yes.
Oh, but he would do his monologue, and then he would sit down on a seat on that very small stage.
Right.
So there was already little room for you all as performers, and he was sometimes in the middle of a scene.
And at one point in the middle of a scene, he just started screaming it was as if he was part of the scene and just was a person in a chair screaming.
So I said I wasn't going to give you notes, but I don't think this is anything that you're not aware of. You may want to rethink where the monologist is during.
Nah, I think it worked.
maybe they sit in the audience. I don't know. But yeah, it was so fun. It was really funny, and yeah, I hadn't seen improv in so long. How was the experience on your side?
It was great. I did not know what to expect, and that's exactly what I got, was unexpected. No, as soon as I walked in and saw, I had been there to see your show, but you just process things very differently when you have to perform there than you do when you're watching. And so I walked in and I saw the stage and I was like, uh-oh, because on top of everything else, the way the house was set up was the stage with the tiny little stage, which would be great for stand-up, was the only part of the room that was lit by the overhead lights when I came in. And I was like, this doesn't work. We can't do this. So I said to the guy in the booth, who did a great job, I said, can we because I think what they do in that space, I think they might have, I can't remember if they did it for your show or not, but sometimes they put actual tables out around the stage.
Yes. They had to take those away for us as well.
Not for your show, of course.
Because we needed a place to dance.
Right. But so before the show, he was like, do you want the tables out? And I was like, no, I do not want the tables out. But then when that space became available, I was like, are there lights that are focused on this area that we can perform in this area as well? And he was like, well, I got to come down and turn those lights on though, whatever. And I was like, okay, can you do that? And literally he came downstairs and flipped a switch and that was it. They were on. And I was like, why was that so? But anyway, that part of the stage was illuminated, but it was still are we up on the stage? Are we down on the floor?
Totally.
Where does Eddie go? Where does it? And it was just figuring all that shit out. We always want to have chairs, but where do the chairs live when they're not in
and
the
where
scene?
Do you guys stand when you're not?
Where do we stand? We were kind of off to the side a little bit, but that didn't totally work. So all of that is just new show, new space jitters.
Well, it's a precarious stage. I would say not just the size, the shape, the fact that multiple times it felt like one of you was gonna just fall all the way off the back because it seems like there should be surface there and there isn't. If there's like
It's
cutouts.
very strange. Yeah. There's like cutouts on the side behind the stage, and it's hard to see where those cutouts are.
Right. It feels like someone's gonna break their leg. It's crazy.
Yeah. This could be a disaster in the making. Because John Gabris almost fell off at one point.
Oh my God.
And then the other part of it is that stage is raised, obviously, but the door is a low frame door. So going on stage as you step up, I think John hit his head coming out on stage at one point, and I had done that before the show started. It's like, it's just a weird thing that happens when you're tall. You crack your head on things that people don't warn you about. So that was whatever. That was just physical plant stuff or whatever you want to call it. I call it physical plant. People call it layout, geography, theatrical,
blocking,
stagecraft. Yeah. But so that was something that we were just figuring out the entire time. Right. But the big thing to me was that there was actually an audience there. Like that was.
And they were loving it. It was a good audience. Like they were warm.
Yeah. That was funny. Like I tried. I just wanted to know, because we had spent the whole week like hyping it up on social media and whatever. And I just wanted to know where people had heard about the show. And of course, no one wanted to answer me when I asked that question.
Did you do some recon after the show?
Not really, because most people were gone by then. But that was also when we chatted out the podcast in that moment, because I was looking directly at you and I was like, I know how you heard about it when we talked about it on the podcast. So maybe we'll get a few extra listeners. But yeah, it was super fun. Great. All those people are people I love working with,
super fun.
Worked with for years. It was interesting. Like, I have somebody who's great, who's helping me produce the show, and who had gone back and forth with the venue several times about, like, this is how many performers are going to be there. Do we have comps for all of them? Yes, we can have this many comps. Do we have drink tickets for all of them? Yes, we have this many drink tickets, whatever. So we show up the night of the show, and one of the performers comes to me backstage and goes, "Can we get a comp for this guest of mine?" And I was like, "Yeah, just talk to one of the people up front." And he was like, "Yeah, I asked them. They don't know anything about it." And so I went up front and I was like, "Yeah, we talked to and they were like, I didn't hear anything about that. I don't know anything." And I was like, "Okay, well, we did go back and forth." Like, I was feeling like I was going to have to pull up the email, but I said, "We did go back and forth a number of times with the venue." And the guy was like, "Okay, fine. There's a comp for this person." And it was the same exact thing with the drink tickets, where I was like, "Hey, they said we could have some drink tickets back there." And they were like, "They didn't tell me that. I don't know anything about that."
Yeah, I think that it's what I'm gathering about that venue is that it's like the people who own the theater, they're trying to make it as like turnkey as possible, so that they just whoever they hire to run the front door, like, it's very separate. They're not part of the day-to-day activities, but that probably leads to some problems if there's no way to communicate.
Yep, it did. So anyway, we're hoping that that gets cleared up in week 2. And by the way, you're the second person that said turnkey to me, and I don't know that turnkey is the way to run a theater.
No, I wasn't saying it as
no. I know you weren't. But I'm saying, yeah. These guys had a brilliant idea to run the place turnkey.
It's like an Airbnb.
Yeah. It's latchkey. I mean, you show up, you have your key to get in.
Do a show. That's it.
You watch TV, you watch cartoons for a while, eat some popcorn. But yeah, so another thing about that was what I realized after I had been there for like 25 minutes is the guy who was doing the tech and lighting is also the door guy. And I'm like, how does that work? That doesn't
turnkey.
Turn off. Spider-Man, turn off the dark.
It means no one can come in late, or if they do, I guess they just come in for free.
They don't pay. Yeah.
But also, I know him from stand-up years and years and years ago, and Jeff and I were laughing about it. I'm not going to even say his name because it's not worth it. But
it's unpronounceable.
I accidentally tortured him because I was just really excited that I recognized him. So I walked up to check in for your show, and I was like, "Hey!" And he was like, "Hi." And I could just see panic starting in his face, and he's like, "Oh, what are the tickets under?" And I think I said something else like, "How you doing? It's good to see." And he was just like, "And the name on the ticket," like he clearly didn't know what my name was. And it was so funny because.
And you knew his name.
Yeah.
And you called him by his name?
No.
Oh, okay.
But what I mean is, like, it was like he tried like 3 separate times to be like, and the spelling on the ticket, you know what I
mean? Yeah. So you basically are saying that you, in real life, in that moment, had the opposite experience of what Eddie lied about on stage.
I did.
Eddie said he tortured Ben Kingsley by pretending not to know who he was.
But I tortured a person.
You tortured someone by making it clear that you knew who he was and he did not know who you were.
So good. Also, this is just going back to like theater etiquette stuff, and I did a really good job of not letting it bother me. There would have been times in the past that it would be like so distracting and it would have been all I focused on. But the 2 women next to me were texting during your show. And I was like,
I didn't even notice that. I wish I was like, I would have said something about it.
Just don't come to a show. Like text, that's fine. But it's not a don't text during any show, but this is also such like an intimate space that
small.
It's like it's like, and I purposely wasn't looking because she had the font on her phone up so big that I was like, I could just like dive into this conversation really quickly. Like I know exactly what's going on.
I recognize the guy at the door and he did not recognize me.
I think they had a third friend that was meeting them because someone came in at one point. And the woman next to me was like, and put her phone away. So I was like, okay. But the second woman, I guess, was still texting. So I was like, I don't know what's going on with y'all.
But I also feel like, unfortunately, that's the world we live in now, where people are just like, I can do whatever I want. There's no such thing as theater etiquette. Who cares?
Well, and it's not even, it is the theater etiquette and it is rude. Absolutely, period, end of sentence. But also, you can't possibly be enjoying the show fully if you are distracted. So it's just like, you're just cheating yourself. I don't know why
How dare you?
Why am I like this?
No, I get it. Like, I feel the same way. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you here? Be present. Don't be elsewhere with your texting
but just do that.
Well, and I mean, you don't know this because who knows if this is true or not. But I'm just gonna guess. I'm gonna say this as a guess that not only was she texting, but while she was texting, she's like, I got my phone out. I might as well check what's going on Instagram and Twitter and
Well, we're addicted. Your thumb does it without you knowing you're doing it. Yeah.
And like I do kind of wish I had seen it because
you would have said something.
I feel like I would have said something. I even regret not saying something to Eddie about how he was just making shit up in the middle of, like, because if I'm ever going to do it to anybody, it's to him, Well,
and then the last suggestion he got for a story was Squirrel. And I was like, that's a plant. Come on. All he talks about are squirrels.
Well, it felt like it must have been somebody who listened to this podcast back in the day, when he would just ramble about squirrels all the time. But it was overall, I was very, very happy with the whole thing. And of course, it's this weird thing now where we'll see what happens. But not me, but my producer sent out a bunch of emails to people saying, "Are you available to do the show?" So it means that people are going to be pissed that they didn't get those emails, or they're going to be annoyed that they got them in the first place, or I'm already tense about what's going to go on with booking this show. And I don't want to feel
I
that
feel
way.
like people know what shows are, though, especially the people that you're talking to. Like you're
Right. But also, but the other part of it for me is that it was really fun, but also because I'm running the show, I was like looking at my phone the whole time to try to make sure we were going for the right amount of time and not going too
right.
long. And
Well,
it just takes a little bit away from like
totally.
what I love about long form improv, which is
Is
just
getting out of your head.
being in the moment, you know?
Well, yeah, that's interesting. I just thinking about that because you're used to doing it on ASCAT where it was like you basically turnkey.
It was turnkey. I showed up, I did the show, and I walked out.
You would perform, but like you didn't
Yeah.
have to worry about the venue or the audience or the other cast members or the timing or anything. You just did it.
We used to say, we'd be backstage during halftime of a show or intermission of a show. I say halftime because I'm a big sports fan. I don't know if you heard of the Knicks. Yeah. So it would be during halftime or at the end of the show. We'd be like, guys, isn't it so nice? This is so turnkey. Yeah, like, we just turn the key and turn the page,
and you go.
But this is not that, because I am responsible for all this stuff, which I think is also why I'm like, why is there not a person at the door? Because people are walking up to the door and going, "Hi, I'm here," and there's like a person behind the counter selling drinks, and they're like, "I don't have anything to do with
not
that.
my jurisdiction." Yeah. Oh, and Jeff got a beer too, and he ordered one that was on the menu, and they were like, "Got it," and they like punched it in, and they walked away, and they came back and they're like, "We don't have that." And I think it happened like one more time, and it was just like, "Why don't you tell us what beers you do have?"
I actually don't work here. I'm the parking valet.
Well, when I saw Eddie, he was behind the counter. He looked like he was working there.
Which again, yeah, I saw him back there too. And I was like, what is going on right now? Like, okay, the turnkey
I asked him if he was interning.
I'm sure he loved that. But then so people came out, which was nice. Some of them were people I knew. Some were people who, like, there were a few people who were just like Instagram follower, friends, social media, people I don't actually know who were there, which was great.
That's the whole point of promoting it on social media, right?
And then there was a woman who was there who was a student of mine who had taken a couple of my classes online, and we had never met in real life. And so she was like, this was just a funny moment to me. She was like, I forget how she said it, but she was like, I didn't realize you're so tall. I didn't know you were so tall. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, that's good for you. I was like, what?
Congratulations.
Yeah. I am. I'm very tall.
It's become like a joke. My old manager and we started working on Zoom. And so he was really obsessed with knowing how tall people were and meeting them and if they were shorter or taller than he thought. Mm-hmm. And I would always make fun of him. But now if I meet someone, I'm like, oh, they're taller than I thought. He's like, see, it's a thing.
It just was funny that, because I don't think about that.
That's good for you.
I'm like, yeah, that's great. That's really great. I guess. Okay. It's not great when I was trying to come on stage through that door that's way too low in the back of the stage. But I will say, one of the things I really like about that theater is that it is so small and intimate. Mm-hmm. It feels like, it feels like you're right on top of the stage, basically. And for long form in particular, I think that works really, really well when it feels like it's that intimate of a show. I mean, I've done
and the laughter stays nice and contained.
right. Both times people laughed, it was like just right there. There was somebody there who Eddie and I had worked with in a group like 30 years ago, which was
wow,
funny. And she wrote a really nice message afterwards on Facebook about how she was crying, laughing for about half the show. So,
aww,
yeah, that was great. But yeah, we'll have to figure out the turnkeyness of it. But that's the plan, is to do this show on a regular basis going forward. If I can continue to get, I mean, you never know after the first show, are you going to get a bigger audience, a smaller audience? Are people going to talk about it? And so we have a show this coming Saturday, and then we have a couple of weeks off, and then we have one at the end of May, 4 in June, 4 in July. So we shall see what we shall see.
It's fun. It's exciting.
Yeah. And I'm gonna have Eddie do monologues for every show, because he'll never run out of stories. He's just making them up, so it doesn't matter. He can say anything. It's like, oh boy, here we go. What's that?
I didn't say anything.
Say it again.
I don't have anything. Please don't make me.
What else? Checking in. I mean, that was the big thing for me. Like, that's the other part of it, is like
it's consumed so much
focused. Yeah. And even this week as well. I'm hoping at some point it becomes sort of a well-oiled machine, or at least an oiled machine, or machine, not a machine, a device, a construction of some
like
sort.
Like a turnkey.
Yeah. Like you just turn the key and it runs. That's my hope. But right now, it's like, who's going to be there? When are they going to be there? Who else is going to be there? Who's going to, how do we promote it?
Did I tell everyone all the info?
And that's the other, by the way, that's the other thing, is that, so one of the things I was doing was trying to promote everything on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And on Instagram, as you know, you can put up, well, you can do all sorts of things. Are you familiar with Instagram at all? You can do you can do all sorts of things on Instagram. But you can put a photo up, and then you could put a reel up, and you could put a story up. And so I was posting photos and then posting them as a story, and you can tag them with the people that are in them. You can tag them with the people that are in the show. You can put a link to the tickets on the story. You can do all these things. I can't keep all that shit straight in my head. It's like all these tiny details you have to pay attention to for each post, of like, did I put this thing in? Did I put that thing in? And I'm just trying to. That's
what I did for DreamWorks Animation for a year and a half.
I know.
It drove me insane.
That's why I'm bringing it up. Is like, I can totally relate to it now, because like at one point I sent out, and I won't mention the performer by name, but I sent out a photo of one of the performers who immediately, I mean, apparently this person just monitors Instagram for 24 hours a day, but like, immediately messaged me and was like, "You forgot to tag me in that post." And I was like, I was just, and it was me reposting a post from the Mixtape Improv account. So, but anyway, I did not tag him in the post, and so he was like, "You forgot to tag me in that post," and I was like, "Oh, sorry, I was just reposting somebody else's thing." So then I sent him the original post, and he immediately messaged me back and was like, "Why are you sending me this?" And I was like, "Because it seemed like you were interested and you maybe wanted to post it yourself or whatever." And it just was a whole, like, he was furious at me for not knowing exactly how to do this. And I was really trying to write back and go like, I am learning, and I'm sure I'll get better at this. And I'm sorry that I didn't do it exactly the way you wanted me to, but I'm trying my best. And please, I'm begging you, work with me on this. Like, so. It was like very specific details that were.
Oh, I get it. I would have I'd have to post something multiple places and in multiple languages and like tag different people and tag the because we're a studio, we're not a platform. So some of our shows are on Netflix and some of our shows are on Hulu and some of our shows are on Peacock. And I did it, there's, and you're like, I messed up one little thing. Like, I feel like I still did a good job, but I have to start over.
And it is the fucking bullshittiest tiny work. It's like the worst kind of clerical work. Like social media and the internet was supposed to make everybody's lives easier and more fun and more interesting. And instead you're sitting there going, did I put the ticket link in? Is the link in my bio? Did I tag this person? Did I put the location in? Did I, did I pick the right song? Just a nightmare. So anyway, the world is going to hell in a handbasket. Sorry.
Did you watch the most recent Succession?
Yes.
It made me laugh so hard. Which
part?
I mean, all of it. It was all very great and cringy, but he basically was describing social media in real life, which is just life.
Yeah. Oh, Ken. Yeah. Fucking Ken, man.
He's insane.
What a dope. Well, that show, I enjoy that show, but it feels to me like it's run its course a little bit,
Well, it's the last.
At the point where it's like, of course, everybody's going to be like, oh, no, Ken's out of his mind. This is going to be horrible. And then it's going to go, you're like, oh, but it's going to go really well, of course, So anyway, I really hope this is the last season. If I was advising them, I would say
it is.
I would say, listen, you guys. I would say, listen, guys, the show's great, but enough is enough. It's time to, I'm giving you the wrap up. So.
Apparently, at the wrap party, Matthew McFadden, who plays Tom
Wamsgans,
was like, I don't know. The way it was written, it could be opened up for more. And they were all like, no, it is over. And I just feel like that's so his character, too. It made me laugh.
Yeah. Well, but also that's the world we live in, where it's like, why would we come up with something new when we can just ride the success of something we've already done? Why invent something new? When we can just reboot One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. No, I don't know what.
Gandhi and Sexy Beast.
So I'm in the coffee shop. Kingsley's sitting there. He's like, oh, this guy knows who I am. I say nothing. Oh, boy. Really? That's what happened? Yeah. Nope, I'm lying. I never was in a coffee shop with Kingsley. And by the way, I looked it up when I got home because, like I said, I was like, those movies are at least 15 years apart. And I looked it up when I got home, and it was actually 18 years.
Wow. Yeah.
And you're right about Gandhi and Starbucks because, I mean, we took a school trip when I was in high school to go see Gandhi in the theaters. Because I went to a movie school,
film school.
We took a lot of movie trips. But anyway, yeah, it was a fun show. I guess that brings us to a segment on the show that we like to call So Long. Farewell.
Bye-bye.
We hate to see you go. No, parting shots. Let's get into parting shots. Let's start today with Amber.
Okay, great. I have two things. And they both possibly, if you zoom out, mean I'm a very
do that with this. I don't know how to make it.
You have to might mean I'm a very boring person, but that's okay. It rained this morning when I walked Smudgy.
Zooming out.
When I walked Smudgy today, it is May 1st, listeners. It is May 1st. it was like kind of misty out, and that happens in the morning. And then by the time we were a few blocks in, it was pouring rain. We both came home soaking wet. And it's notable because usually we get 3 days of rain in December, and it is May, and it still might
It's
rain.
been raining nonstop since January.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, I was out driving at like, I don't know, 12:30 last night, and it was pouring. I was on the 101. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
It's so crazy. It's crazy, crazy, crazy.
And it makes me realize how bad my windshield wipers are.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I had these replaced like 14 years ago. Why are they...
Before you bought the car.
Yeah. Why are they not working properly?
And then the second thing is, I got it in my head to utilize this app that I heard about where you organize and catalog all of the clothes you own, and that way you can mark what outfits you wear, and you could really see data of like the clothes you do wear. And
I should get rid of this and this, and I should get more like this and this and this.
Yeah, because they say that like the human brain, especially when it comes to shopping, is especially bad at guessing that kind of stuff. And that is why people end up with like 11 of the same thing, because it's like, oh, I need this, but it's like, no, you don't. You have it and you don't wear it. But and also you can input like the price of the item, so you can start calculating price per use and seeing like what is a value and what isn't. Anyway, I was
$200 a use. That's crazy.
That's an expensive piece of so I got really excited about it this weekend, and I downloaded it Saturday night. And so Sunday yesterday I was like, okay, that's it, I'm going to take a picture of every single one of every single piece of clothing I own. And not just that, you have to put in like the brand name, the size, the color, the fabric, any special notes, so that you have tagging. So if you want to look for just like high-waisted or bell bottom or something.
I had those all labeled already. My high-waisted pants and my bell bottom pants.
Well, it was like an all-day process. I took some breaks. I did some other things, but I'm not even close to being done. It was so labor intensive, but I'm chipping away. So hopefully, like by the end of May, it will be done.
The internet is just about making our lives easier. So just catalog every detail of every piece of clothing
I know.
own.
Well, and then Jeff was making me laugh. He was sort of making fun of me of like, we need to get an app that logs all of Smudgy's toys, and that way we could record every time he uses a toy, and that way we'll know what toys he likes and what toys. I was like, yeah, I get it. I'm crazy. But in theory, once I have this done, I'm really excited because there's a whole section on the app just for packing. Because I feel like I'm always stressed out about packing, or I have the right amount of clothes, but I don't look good. Like they're not good outfits, but I could just like pack on the app. I'm really excited about that.
You could also do, I mean, all the geniuses like Jobs and Zuckerberg, they all do, they just go, this is the thing. This is all I'm wearing ever.
Oh,
for
right.
The rest
Black
of my
turtlenecks.
Life. Yeah, black turtleneck, or I think black t-shirt and jeans, because it saves their brain power from decision making about what to wear, and they get to decision make about how to rip off the American public. It makes it
ruin society.
Yeah. So that was one, right?
It was two.
It was okay.
It's raining, and I'm categorizing my clothes.
I lose track.
It's tough when the number's that high.
Yeah, when there's two things, I always start over at one. I'm like, yeah. So that's one. What's the second thing?
I'm still working out. I'm still proud of myself about being consistent with that. Stay tuned. I guess. I don't know.
So that is number one, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I guess I really only have, well, I have two things. No, I have two things. I'll start with the first one. which is that this fucking short film has been taking.
Oh, right.
We shot it in August, so it's now a few months after that, and it's just been in process this whole time. But I think we're starting to hit the home stretch.
Oh, exciting.
Because it's going into color correction. The cut is locked. It's gone to the composer. It's gone to the sound designer.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's gone to the titles person. So the last several details are being taken care of, at which point I'll be able to submit it to festivals. It'll get all sorts of awards. I'll be feted at various agencies and production
You'll never
companies
talk
and
to me
networks
again.
throughout Hollywood. I'll show up at Universal in my Range Rover chariot. I'm going to have a chariot when I do that, like drawn by camels, not horses, just to be different. And, but so I'm excited that that's finally going to be done. Like at a certain point, I think there's a certain point where you go, oh my God, is this thing ever going to be finished? You know? And it now seems like it will be. So that's one thing.
Sorry.
Was that the third thing or was that the second thing?
No, but that's exciting. It is a time consuming project. It just is. Are you going to have like a screening or?
It's a good question. I have not even thought about that, you know? I might wait until, as I said, it wins a lot.
You've won all the awards. You have $1 million billion.
Because then it's like, okay, Mr. Conroy, we've reopened the Cinerama Dome, and we want to show.
I'll give back to the community. Yeah. I'll let them see my film.
We have a carpet. It just so happens we couldn't get a red one. It's like off pink and
Barbiecore, so hot right now.
Would you care to walk the carpet and we'll have Getty Images take some photos and so we'll see. We'll see. I might have a screening, or I'll just post a link to it on Netflix or whatever social media.
You're gonna post it to Netflix.
However you do it.
That's an interesting business model.
Can I post it to Netflix?
I like this. There's something there, kid. Most people try to get money from Netflix, but you're like, can I please just give you this?
Mr. Netflix, we have a problem. There's somebody posted a link to their short film, and it's
on our website.
Blocking our biggest. It's blocking. What's a big show on Netflix now? I can't even.
Like Stranger Things? Is that
Stranger Things? Another season of Stranger Things is coming out. Not if I have my way and block it with my short film. No one will ever know how that story ends. They went into the Upside Down, and who knows what happened after that. So that's one thing. The second thing is, if you live in LA, come out this Saturday, the Lyric Hyperion Theater. The tech guy will let you in when he takes your ticket.
Act like you know him.
Yeah. And come to the show because we are, I'm concerned already about audience, and I hope people show up for the second show. And if you come to the show, I will stand next to you in a photo so you have a frame of reference for how tall I am in real life.
Hold up a penny.
All right. Well, folks, this is The Long Shot. It is a podcast. Smash the button. If you have a button, I don't know where it's like. Yeah. Mash the button. Mm-hmm. We did get some more YouTube comments this week. We'll try to get to those next week. And please send those in if you have them. And we will see you guys next time on The Long Shot. I just want to give Aaron one more. So we'll see.
That was very Halloween-y.
Well, it is May 1st. All right. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Bye.
So I will walk this evening to the cellar, and I will try my best to stay afloat. And I will be standing till 3 in the morning with a mouthful of terrible jokes. And you will criticize my awful timing, but I will still insist upon my skill. And I will be late for work in the morning. I'm just taking the time that you killed. And it isn't as if things have gotten better, though it isn't as if I am getting worse. And it isn't as if I took the apple from your eye and I bit it just to quench my own thirst. And it isn't as if people think I'm funny. Oh, but what is being funny even for? Well, my lines have made me forget what you gave me when I was starting out in New York. And it isn't as if I am getting work.